Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we are peeling back the layers of global trade to reveal a shadow world that operates in parallel to our own. It is a world where brake pads are manufactured from compressed grass, where life-saving malaria medication is nothing more than molded chalk, and where a vintage bottle of Pinot Noir is actually a chemical cocktail of cheap ethanol and food coloring. We are talking about the counterfeit economy. This is not a small black market operation. It is a sprawling, multi-trillion-dollar beast. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development estimates that the trade in counterfeit and pirated goods is worth between $600 billion and $4.5 trillion annually. To put that massive number into perspective, if the counterfeit economy were its own sovereign country, its GDP would rival that of Germany. But the dollar figure, as staggering as it is actually the least efficient metric for understanding the damage. The true cost is the erosion of reality itself. In the medical sector, the World Health Organization estimates that 10% of medical products in developing countries are substandard or falsified. In parts of Africa, that figure climbs to a terrifying 70% for anti-malarials. These fakes do not just fail to cure, they actively kill. And they breed drug-resistant superbugs by introducing sub-therapeutic doses of active ingredients into the population. In the industrial sector, a counterfeit bolt in an aircraft engine or a fake microchip in a missile defense system represents a catastrophic failure waiting to happen. In 2018, the United States military discovered a widespread infiltration of counterfeit electronics in its supply chain, raising immediate national security alarms. And even in the luxury market, which is often dismissed as a victimless crime, the trade in fake handbags funds organized crime rings, human trafficking, and terror groups. The superfake industry in Guangzhou has become so sophisticated that even seasoned authenticators often cannot tell the difference between a $15,000 Hermes Birkin and its $200 doppelganger without physically dismantling the bag. This leads to a phenomenon described by economist George Akerlof, who won a Nobel Prize for his paper on the market for lemons. Akerlof described a scenario where a buyer's inability to distinguish between high-quality goods, which he called peaches, and low-quality goods or lemons, drives the high-quality sellers out of the market. Counterfeiting is the ultimate realization of this nightmare. When you can no longer trust that the extra money you pay guarantees safety or quality, the entire market collapses into a race to the bottom. For most of history, we solved this with local trust. You knew the blacksmith, you knew the farmer. But as trade lanes stretched from the Silk Road to the container ports of Shenzhen and Rotterdam, that personal link was severed. We replaced it with proxies like wax seals, watermarks, holograms, and serial numbers, and one by one, the counterfeiters broke them all. The fundamental flaw in all these previous technologies, from the coin reading introduced by Isaac Newton to the holograms on your credit card today, is that they are extrinsic. They are added to the product. If a hologram can be made by a legitimate factory, it can be made by an illegitimate one. If a QR code can be printed, it can be photocopied. Today, however, we stand on the precipice of a technological shift so profound it promises to do what thousands of years of laws and stamps could not. We are entering the era of the cryptographic anchor. This is not just about better barcodes. It is about the fusion of material science, quantum physics, and blockchain technology to create objects that cannot be cloned, forged, or denied. IBM researchers define the cryptographic anchor as a digital fingerprint for physical goods. Just as you cannot easily replicate a human fingerprint because of its random chaotic formation, a crypto anchor relies on entropy. This is randomness introduced during manufacturing that is mathematically impossible to reproduce, even by the original manufacturer. The anchor serves two critical functions. First, authentication, answering the question, is this the object you claim it is? And second, provenance, answering the question, where has this object been? The magic happens when this physical entropy is digitized and stored on a blockchain. The blockchain provides the immutable history, the who, what, and where, while the anchor provides the physical proof. Without the anchor, a blockchain supply chain is just a garbage-in, garbage-out system. You could have a perfect digital record of a fake handbag. The anchor bridges the air gap between the atom and the bit. So, how do we fingerprint the physical world? The technology stack relies on the cutting edge of physics and biology. At the heart of many electronic crypto anchors is the Physically Unclonable Function, or PUF. When a silicon chip is manufactured, microscopic variations occur in the process, such as slight differences in the thickness of the silicon wafer or the doping concentration of atoms. Usually, these are considered defects, but PUF technology treats them as features. For example, consider SRAM PUFs. When a static random access memory cell powers up, it naturally settles into a state of 1 or 0. Which way it settles depends on these microscopic physical variations. A chip with thousands of SRAM cells will produce a random string of 1s and 0s upon startup. This string is unique to that specific chip. It is a fingerprint born from the chaos of quantum mechanics during fabrication. Another type, arbiter PUFs, measures the time delay of an electrical signal racing through the chip. Because of atomic-level differences in wire pathways, the signal will arrive at slightly different times, on different chips. The beauty of a PUF is that you do not need to store a secret key on the device, which could be stolen. The device itself is the key. To clone it, you would need to place individual atoms in the exact same arrangement, a feat currently impossible. For non-electronic goods, we turn to optical fingerprints, specifically using diamond dust. A startup called Dust Identity, born from MIT research, uses microscopic diamonds to tag objects. They spray a fine coating of polymer containing engineered nanodiamonds onto an item, like an aerospace component or a luxury watch. As the diamonds land, they settle in random orientations and positions. A scanner then reads this distribution. The diamonds fluoresce and reflect light in a way that creates a complex, 3D optical signature. The number of possible combinations is astronomical, roughly 10 to the power of 230. Even if you had the same diamonds in the same spray gun, you could never recreate the exact same scatter pattern. This dust can be applied to the head of a screw or the circuit board of a fighter jet. Once scanned and logged, any attempt to scrape it off or tamper with it destroys the pattern, signaling fraud. Moving from physics to biology, we have DNA tagging. Companies like Applied DNA Sciences take the concept to the molecular level. They use synthetic DNA sequences, short strands of genetic code, to tag materials. This DNA can be misted onto cotton fibers before they are woven into shirts or mixed into the ink used to print pharmaceutical labels. Field inspectors can then use portable polymerase chain reaction or PCR devices to test the product. If the DNA matches the specific botanical signature encrypted in the company's database, it is genuine. This is particularly powerful for raw materials. You cannot put a microchip in a vat of olive oil or a bale of cotton, but you can dope them with safe, edible DNA markers that survive the manufacturing process. Finally, for extreme durability, there is the P-chip. This is a semiconductor light-activated microtransponder the size of a grain of salt. Unlike RFID, which requires bulky antennas, the P-chip is powered by laser light and transmits its ID via radio frequency. It can survive temperatures from -200 to +500 degrees Celsius, making it ideal for tagging industrial tools or even embedding directly inside products, not just on the packaging. Having a physical fingerprint is useless if you do not have a secure place to store the record. This is where the blockchain enters the equation to create a shared truth. In a traditional supply chain, data is siloed. The manufacturer has a database, the shipper has a spreadsheet, and the retailer has an inventory system. These silos are opaque, and counterfeiters exploit these gaps by injecting fake paperwork. Blockchain changes this. When a luxury watch is made, its crypto anchor is scanned, creating a digital token or digital twin on the blockchain. As the watch moves from factory to courier to warehouse, each custodian scans the anchor. The blockchain records the time, location, and identity of the handler. We can even use smart contracts, which are self-executing code on the blockchain. A smart contract could say, if the watch is not scanned at the customs port by a specific date, flag it as stolen. Or, release payment to the supplier only when the retailer confirms the crypto anchor scan matches the Genesis block. Everledger is a prime example of this synergy. Originally built to track diamonds, it records over 40 attributes of a stone on a blockchain. By combining high-definition optical scans of the diamond with the immutable ledger, Everledger closed the loop on blood diamonds, giving consumers proof that their gem is conflict-free. This technology is reshaping major global industries. In pharmaceuticals, we are seeing the rise of the pill that talks. While current regulations rely on 2D barcodes on boxes, edible crypto anchors are in development. These are micro-patterns printed directly onto pills using magnesium and silicon. A patient could take a photo of the pill with a smartphone app before swallowing. The app analyzes the micro-texture, verifies it against the blockchain, and confirms it is not a dud. This shifts the paradigm from trusting the pharmacy to trusting the pill itself. In food and agriculture, Walmart has pioneered traceability, using blockchain to track pork in China and mangoes in the US. By integrating crypto anchors, the time to trace the source of a salmonella outbreak dropped from 7 days to just 2.2 seconds. In the high-value wine market, bottles are being tagged with NFC chips featuring rolling encryption. Every time you tap the bottle with your phone, the chip generates a new one-time use code. If a counterfeiter tries to clone the chip, they will only copy an old code, which the system will instantly reject. In the automotive and aerospace sectors, safety is critical. A fake airbag that deploys a fraction of a second too late is fatal. Crypto anchors allow manufacturers to create a digital thread for parts. A brake caliper can be stamped with a 3D microstructure. When a mechanic installs it, the car's onboard computer could theoretically refuse to recognize a part that lacks a valid cryptographic signature, preventing the vehicle from operating with unsafe components. This concept is known as the Internet of Trusted Things. However, history teaches us that every security measure eventually falls. This is a cat-and-mouse game, an arms race. While PUFs are theoretically unclonable, researchers have developed machine learning modeling attacks. By querying a PUF thousands of times, sending it challenges and recording the responses, an attacker can train an AI model to predict how the PUF will behave. If the AI becomes accurate enough, the attacker can create a software clone of the hardware chip. The countermove to this is the development of XOR PUFs and double arbiter PUFs, which introduce non-linearity to make the AI's job exponentially harder. There is also the repackaging attack. If a bottle of vintage wine has a perfect crypto anchor on the label, but the wine inside has been replaced with vinegar, the anchor is lying. The industry is responding with tamper-evident anchors. New designs integrate the anchor into the seal itself. Graphene-based printed electronics can detect if a paper seal has been torn, even if it is re-glued, by sensing the permanent change in electrical resistance. And regarding the threat of 3D printing, as resolution improves, counterfeiters might try to print the microtextures used by optical anchors. The solution here is moving toward internal features. 3D printing can copy a surface, but it struggles to replicate internal density variations that can only be seen with terahertz scanners or X-ray inspection. As we blanket the world in trackable, verifiable sensors, we also run headlong into privacy and ethical concerns. Consider the shirt that spies. If a luxury jacket has a woven-in RFID crypto anchor that screams authenticity to any scanner, it also signals to thieves or advertisers that a person is wearing a $5,000 jacket. Privacy-enhancing technologies are being developed where the anchor remains silent until unlocked by the owner, or uses zero-knowledge proofs to verify authenticity without revealing the owner's identity. Then there is the right to repair. If a tractor or an iPhone requires a cryptographically signed spare part to function, it kills the third-party repair market. Manufacturers could use safety as a Trojan horse to monopolize repairs, forcing consumers to pay premium prices. This tension between security and monopoly is currently playing out in courts worldwide. And finally, there is the issue of consumer apathy. The biggest hurdle might not be technology, but laziness. Will a consumer actually take their phone out to scan a diamond dust tag? Early data suggests scanning fatigue. The end of fakes relies on an engaged public. If nobody verifies, the anchor is just expensive decoration. Looking to the future, specifically 2035 and beyond, where does this lead? As quantum computers threaten to break the math behind current digital signatures, the next generation of anchors will use post-quantum cryptography. More radically, we may see quantum anchors, devices that use the quantum states of atoms, such as entanglement, as the identifier. This would be truly unbreakable, as the act of measuring the state would destroy it, preventing any cloning attempt due to the no-cloning theorem. We are also moving towards smart dust. We are shifting from passive anchors that wait to be scanned to active motes. Imagine dust-sized computers with sensors that do not just say I am a vaccine, but say I am a vaccine, and I have never exceeded 8 degrees Celsius. This merges the cold chain with authentication, ensuring viability. Ultimately, we are building the Internet of Goods. In the future, search engines will crawl the physical world. You could search for the location of your specific pair of sneakers, and the blockchain, queried via a mesh network of scanners, would locate its unique crypto anchor. The distinction between digital inventory and the physical warehouse will vanish. The end of fakes is a bold promise. As long as there is value, there will be fraud. However, cryptographic anchors are shifting the economics of counterfeiting. They are raising the cost of forgery from buying a printer to building a semiconductor fab or solving quantum equations. We are moving from an economy based on reputation, where we simply trust a brand, to an economy based on verification, where we can prove the math. In a world fracturing under the weight of misinformation, the ability to anchor truth to a physical object may be the most valuable commodity of all. Global trade is upgrading its operating system, and for the counterfeiters, the update might just be fatal. Thank you for listening to G Fun Facts Online.